Welcome to The Explainer. All right, let's just dive right in. Today, we're digging into a really fascinating analysis of the money behind football, the world's biggest sport, and how this passion we all share might just be covering up a system that's, well, anything but equal.
So the source we're looking at today kicks off with a scene that, we can all picture. Doesn't matter if you're in Lagos, Nairobi, or Johannesburg. That love for European football is absolutely electric. It's this incredible unifying force across the entire continent.
But here's the twist, right? The source makes a pretty bold argument that this shared love, this global fan community, is actually masking a really unbalanced economic system, one that's been quietly built up over decades. To really get our heads around this, we first need to understand the main idea that the whole analysis is built on. It's something called underdevelopment theory.
Okay, so what does that mean? Basically, the theory says that wealth and poverty aren't happening on two separate tracks. Nope, they're actually two sides of the exact same coin. The prosperity of what it calls the core, in this case, Europe, is directly fueled by taking resources, labor, and value from the periphery, in this case, Africa.
And here's where it clicks for football. When you apply that theory, Europe acts as the core. It gobbles up raw talent, packages it, and then sells these amazing high-value products, like the Premier League or the Champions League, back to the world. Africa, on the other hand, acts as the periphery. It provides the raw talent and then ends up paying to watch its own stars in these European leagues. The result? A constant flow of value moving away from the continent. And the thing is, this wasn't some accident. It has deep, deep historical roots. The source traces this all the way back to the colonial era. Football was introduced, sure, but there was almost no investment in local stadiums or leagues. So later on, when African nations got their independence and joined FIFA, they were basically walking into a game where the rules and all the power were already locked down in Europe. That created a dependency that the source argues is still playing out today. So let's look at the most obvious sign of this system in action. This huge one-way street of football talent leaving Africa. Now, the source uses this pretty provocative phrase, and of course they don't mean it literally. They're using it to highlight the sheer scale and the economic engine behind this flow of talent. It's pointing to a system where young, promising players are found in Africa and shipped off to Europe, with almost all the financial upside being captured thousands of miles from their homes. I mean, just look at this number, 4,273. That's how many players Africa exported internationally in 2023 alone. That is more than any other football confederation on the planet. It is a staggering outflow of talent. And this chart? Wow. It just lays it all out, doesn't it? The global transfer market was worth almost $10 billion. But Africa, the continent that exported the most players, received just a tiny slice of that pie. The value, as the source argues, is grown in Africa but cashed in Europe. And here's the really wild part, the paradox. Even when a player like Victor Osimhen becomes a massive global superstar, it can actually have a weird negative effect back home. His success makes his Italian club Napoli a household name in Nigeria. But the local Nigerian clubs that found him, that trained him first, they get left in the dust, fighting for the fans and the money that's now flowing overseas. Okay, so we've talked players, but it doesn't stop there. The source argues that Europe has also managed to capture Africa's huge, passionate consumer market. Just look at the broadcasting numbers. On a huge platform like SuperSport, a whopping 70% of sports viewership is all about European football. That means the attention, the eyeballs, the advertising dollars, it's all pointing away from the local leagues. And where the attention goes, the money follows. Or, in this case, doesn't. The English Premier League is pulling in over $7 billion a year. Now compare that to two of Africa's biggest leagues. South Africa's is getting about $20 million. Nigeria's? Less than $1 million. They are just worlds apart financially. And you can see how this becomes this vicious cycle, right? Because there's no money, the local infrastructure, stadiums, academies, suffers. That in turn makes it super easy for European clubs to come in with their scouting networks and pick up talent on the cheap. And the whole thing is powered by this massive media machine that tells every kid and every fan that the only place to make it, the only real football, is in Europe. Now, let's be clear. The analysis is careful to point out this isn't a simple one-way street. It's not just about extraction. It acknowledges that Europe's own internal wealth and media savvy helped build its dominance. It also recognizes that for an individual player, a move to Europe can be a life-changing opportunity.
And, crucially, it mentions that African football has its own serious internal problems to deal with, like corruption and mismanagement.
So, okay, it's a complicated picture, but is there a way out? The source doesn't just point out the problems. It also offers up a vision for how to build a more balanced, a more fair system. All right, so here's the 5-step roadmap the source suggests. First up, step 1, fix the transfer system. Maybe a development tax on every international transfer that pumps money right back into the grassroots academies that found the talent. That new money then makes step 2 possible, real investment in stadiums and facilities. From there, it's about politics and business. Step 3, demand a fairer shake from FIFA on revenue. Step 4, work to build up the local markets and get sponsors excited about local leagues. And finally, step 5, brings it all together, building stronger Pan-African tournaments that can grow into powerful, valuable brands themselves.
So, in the end, this whole analysis leaves us with this huge, thought-provoking question. We all adore the beautiful game, right? But this explainer really challenges us to look harder at the foundation it's built on. It asks us to imagine what a truly level pitch would look like, and to really think about what it would take to build it for everyone.